What is up, people? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be going through my weak points. So I'm going to bring you through a gym session today. Haven't really decided whether it's going to be voiceover or me filming in the gym. Really depending on how busy the gym is, because I'm not quite ready to be walking around like a vlogger and the camera in the gym and kind of in people's faces. I do have to still respect people's privacy. But yeah, so today gonna be going through my weak points. Brad specifically said to me I need to work on my delts. Probably need to bring up my arms, calves as well. Like, obviously most people are afflicted with the curse of small calves, but then again, you can't really complain about having small calves if you don't train them. As well, I have changed my schedule around a little bit, so now I am training first thing after breakfast. Reason being is my breakfast is my biggest meal of the day, and it's just nicer to be able to come home after the training session and then do my work and focus on kind of resting, getting my steps in. It just kind of suits my schedule a little bit better, and as well the amount of energy I'll have throughout the day. So generally in a diet, like personally, I will start to lose a bit more kind of energy throughout the day, especially as I spend more on harder tasks, the likes of doing work. And then towards my usual training time, which would be like 2 or 3, while I've had more meals in me, I will also just be a little bit more lethargic towards that time. So I may be able to give a bit more to my training sessions in the mornings. It's something I've done in past diets, so I'm going to do it now for the foreseeable future. And if I do need to change it for whatever reason, if I find that I'm actually not performing as well in these morning sessions as I was in the evening sessions or the afternoon sessions even, then I'll just make the switch. Thankfully, I do have a job where my schedule is very flexible and I can fit in my goals around my work very, very easily. I can work in the evening, or I can work in the morning, or work in the afternoon. It really doesn't matter once I get the work done. So first up is breakfast part 1. So as I mentioned, still having breakfast as the biggest meal of the day. So I'm not going to go through all my meals today because I want to keep this video relatively short. So breakfast is 1 bagel, 4 bacon medallions, 2 eggs, and then part 2 I'll show you in a second when I'm done this. So here is part 2. Oats, peanut butter, maple butter. Shout out to Keen Madden. I know he likes how I cook these oats. Pretty sure this is his recipe, so if you want the details of how to make them like this, get on to Keen. So yeah, this is it. I'll see you in the gym. Before we get to the gym, gonna have some pump product. It's a Big Noise Redcon non-stim, because I don't really want to be having too much caffeine. Don't want to be relying on it this early on in prep. So we have a lot of ingredients here that are going to be directed towards focus, like alpha GPC, rhodiola, huperzine. And then we have some things that are going to be like vasodilators, like betaine and beet, so beetroot extract. And then we're going to have 10 grams of this bad boy. Tiger's blood, which, I mean, I don't really know who's working in the marketing department, but most people don't really know what tiger's blood tastes like. So, for the consumer, unless you're a bit of a freak, probably won't understand what flavor this is. I still don't understand what flavor it is. And then we have citrulline malate, the OG, as you know, 7 or 8 grams of this going into this. Cheers. So before we go to the gym, pro tip in the fat loss phase, park further away from things. So I'm here, obviously. The gym is all the way over there. So here we are in the gym, Coliseum gym, doing a few of my sessions here. Just to have a lot more equipment than we do in abs. Abs is fantastic for, community environment, training with comp spec equipment. However, this gym just has a lot of machines that are very useful for me, and I am specifically doing some bodybuilding work. Now, with any machine, you're going to be able to adjust it to fit your body. So that's kind of what I spent the first few seconds there doing, and also getting into a warm set, so just getting some blood flow into the calves. So this is my first working set. So with this exercise specifically, I'm thinking about driving my ankle up and forward. This is going to allow me to fully shorten the calf, or shorten as much as I can in this position. And you're not going to get full shortening because you have a straight knee. So to get the calf fully shortened, you'll want to have a bent knee. So doing something like a seated calf raise, which is up next as the gastrocnemius. So that's one of the calf muscles that crosses the knee joint too. All right. So yeah, the reason I'm also starting with this exercise is I can load it up a bit better and get into a length and range better compared to this one. So with this one, I'm starting off already in a dorsal flex position. So dorsal flex, you can think about is your toes going up towards the ceiling. So for that reason, I'm not able to get into a great degree of lengthening here, and lengthening portions of reps tend to be the most beneficial for the likes of muscle growth. However, I am getting in a decent degree of shortening, or I'm getting full shortening in here at the top of the movement because I do have that bent knee position. Same again with cues. I'm thinking about driving my ankles up
and forward. Okay, controlled reps here as you'll see, no bouncing. So now that calves are out of the way, I'm onto arms. So performing these exercises in supersets, so exercises back to back, starting off with the over the shoulder tricep extension. So have it coming over the opposite shoulder because it's going to align better with how the elbow naturally wants to extend, which is not a straight line but more in a diagonal manner. Using the trailing arm here, just provide a little, using the daisy chain to provide a little bit of an extra trailing arm, which is going to make it easier for me to get into position. The cuff is going to reduce any forearm strain, going to let me to just focus on pushing down with the back of my hand. That non-working arm that I'm pushing into my bicep, that's acting as a restraint there, so I can output higher forces and keep the shoulder joint a lot more stable. The shoulder joint is flexed here, so it's going to be challenging the tricep in a more lengthened position, specifically the long head, which is going to cross the shoulder joint. So pairing that up with this, so this is a cable preacher curl, so using that bench here to brace the back of my arm into, to brace into tricep into it, so I can output again higher forces. Shifting my weight to one side so I can align up my shoulder with my elbow and my wrist, so I can get the actual cable in more line with them. Also in this position here, I'm going to be getting a little bit more length into the actual bicep itself, but I'm going to be challenging the bicep in its fully shortened position. So one of the roles of the bicep is to flex the shoulder joint. So if you flex your shoulder down, give your bicep a squeeze there, you'll feel a very intense contraction. That's because the actual bicep itself is kind of maxing out how short it can get. So that's the kind of main reason why I am performing this variation, just to provide an additional challenge to train the actual muscle through a different range of motion, which can be beneficial for regional hypertrophy. As well, it's very key when you're training arms or delts or small muscle groups to micro load them. So adding weight in over time is key to making them grow, and they're very small muscle groups, so they're not going to like progress the same rate your squat will. So adding on like 1.25 kilo here or there every couple of weeks once you are able to is going to be key. So that's why I added that weight there. So next superset is going to be this single arm cross the body tricep extension. So again, cross the body because it's going to align better with how my elbow naturally wants to extend in this position. So with my shoulder in extension, I'll be targeting the medial and lateral head of the tricep more so than the long head. Okay, also again, just using that daisy chain to increase the size of the trailing arm. Again, cuff is just reducing forearm strain, so I can just push down with the back of my hand as opposed to having to worry about anything else. Probably could do a little bit less internal rotation here with the way the cable stack is set up. Is just a bit of a ball ache for the other side, if I'm being honest. Then finally, the last arm exercise here. So this is the subsequent exercise to the last one, is going to be the face away curl. So with the actual cable coming behind my body and my elbow coming behind my body, I'm going to be challenging this bicep in a more lengthened position. So once the attachment point is moving further from the origin, so origin is going to be around the shoulder and the attachment point is just below the elbow, it's going to give a greater stretch on the actual bicep. Training in length and ranges, as I mentioned, is probably going to provide better hypertrophy compared to short, so we really want to be kind of maximizing our time here. Alright, again, using that cable there, I perform it unilaterally so I can align that cable up with the actual line of the line that I'm actually contracting in, so that cable is going through my wrist and my elbow. So that's all the arm exercises. So after I have my arm training out of the way, it's onto shoulders. So I'm performing arm training first because the shoulders are going to stabilize your arms. So if you have fatigued shoulders going into doing your arm training, you're not going to get as much quality work done and may have to drop the loads because your stabilizing muscles are fatigued. So first up is going to be a cable upright row. So this is going to be my heaviest shoulder movement that I can do today, which is ideal, alright, because I want to get some heavy loading into those side delts. So I'm using this to tackle my side delts. It is going to be primarily abduction. There is some kind of flexion going on here as well, of course. So I'm going to get to tackle my side delts and front delts through this movement with a heavy ass load. Key consideration here is I'm using some D handles as the handles because I want to have a bit of free rotation at the wrist, and I'm thinking about pulling from the elbows as opposed to pulling from the hands, which is very key when it comes to training your delts, especially in raises. Wrist position doesn't matter, it's all about the elbow. And you'll see that here. So this is the cable cuff lateral raise. So I have the cuff attached at my wrist or just above the wrist joint, and I have the cable set up just between knee and hip height. So this is going to have a 90-degree force angle at the very bottom, which means at the very bottom of the movement it's going to be the hardest compared to a normal dumbbell lateral raise, which is at the top. Again, in regards to the elbow position, I'm thinking about having my elbow position internally rotated, so my actual elbow will be pointed towards the ceiling, my thumb be pointing down, and it's going to put my side delts on top of the axis of which it's kind of moving through. So it's going to provide a greater stimulus to the actual side delts in that top position. Compared to a dumbbell lateral raise, again, hardest position here is at the bottom, and the easiest position is actually at the top, because as you see that cable, it becomes a lot closer to like a straight line at the top than it is at the bottom. Okay. Cuff, again, just reducing any forearm strain and making sure all I'm focused on here is my elbow position and outputting as much force as I can into that cuff. Then after that, I am going to go onto my Y raises. So it's called a Y raise because if you looked at me from a bird's eye view, I would look like a Y. Using this as just a finishing exercise, as I suppose Brad hasn't said he's called it that, but that's what I'm calling it. So this is really going to just fatigue that shortened position. So as you see at the bottom, there's not a huge amount going on, just as the weight is going down through the floor, but as I flex the shoulder and get up towards the top, that's going to be very, very hard for me to get into that position. Okay, so load here, naturally enough, it's going to be light because the lever arm is quite long. So lever arm is the distance between the point of application, which is my hand, and the actual joint itself, which is the shoulder. So have my knuckles towards the ceiling, again put the side delt on top of the axis, and going to continue to train that because I've weak side delts apparently. Alright, so in terms of my body position on the bench, I'm really thinking about creating whole body tension there, so nothing on my body is loose. Okay, I want to feel as much tension from my toes to my shoulders as I can. It's going to allow me to output the most amount of force and get the best mind muscle connection really that I can. Alright, so that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed.
So that concludes today's video. Nice chest and arm pump. I'm going to conclude today's session with a bit of posing practice, which I may or may not include in this. So that concludes today's session, and with that it concludes today's video. So I hope you picked up some tips and tricks from that video to implement into your own training. As always, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, and if you enjoyed it a huge amount, share with a friend. Help me get this channel growing a bit more. You know, I would like to help a bit more people get a bit more famous, you know yourself. So yeah, catch you in the next one.